YouTube. How's it going, guys? You good? This one, I know I've said this before, but this one is genuinely going to be a little bit different. I've had a couple of Americans ask, wonder, you know, what is CEX? Because obviously they've had quite a few British people in comments on videos and stuff mention CEX, and including myself. And I thought I'd just take you on a little trip, show you kind of what CEX is, and the kind of bargains that you kind of get. Also, if you're in Britain and you're on the hunt for some hardware, I might have a couple of bargains that seem to have gone a little bit under the radar in CEX right now. So wait till the end and you might find out what they are. But that being said, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you our local store. We're going to have a quick goosey gander at what's there. It's just going to be a quick run through the store, and then what we'll do is we'll come back here and we'll have a look how it works online, and I'll explain the benefits of both sides of the equation. I'll explain the limitations that the store has, but also the benefits that come with it. And hopefully this will give you a little bit of an idea of what a CEX store is like, what CEX is, and why we hype it up so much. That being said, should we go have a look at the store, yeah? Right, let's go. Right, okay guys, here we are outside my local store. You know, it's just there. Okay, I get it. Right, like I know. Right, the definition of my webcam is never going to have you believe that I'm still here, but this is pre-recorded. Look, it was market day when I recorded this, so I was lucky to get it as quiet as it was, and it's so hot in there. Like, I can't even explain. I can promise you, before I reached the end of the cabinets, sweat was literally dripping off me. But anyways, we're gonna have a look, see how the store's laid out. I will say now that they literally know how to use every single cram an inch of their space that they've got available. But what we'll do is I've got a little run through. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what comes through and what shows up. But this is my local store. I did record this. This is literally down the road from my house. So we'll see what sort of wonders they've got in there whilst we have a look at the sort of eclectic range of technology that they have in there. So yeah, without further ado, but as we're going to end, it's really quite a small store. They're all kinds of shapes and sizes, but front window, kind of throw the kind of good stuff up there. We've got some camera equipment running across the top here, then onto some iPads and that. Got a few phones, a few select ones up in the window, and then we've got some gaming and more phones. Then we've got some music stuff, decks and stuff. We've got some consoles down there at the bottom. We'll have a look at that in a minute. We've got a few switches and that. And then obviously we've got the PlayStations and stuff. That right there, guys. That is a 3070 Ti for 275 quid. For reference, just for reference, at the moment, an 8GB 9060 XT is like 370 quid. So this is 100 quid cheaper, and it performs, even though it is 8GB, it does perform in the same sort of raw performance as the 16GB 9060 XT. So it's like 5% faster than that card for 100 quid less. That right there is an absolute gem of a bargain, and for me at the moment, 30 series just has the used market at the minute. 3070s, 3080s, 3070 Ti's, if you can find a real good deal on that. That is a really good, decent little deal on that, like, because it is a good 15, 20 20% faster than the 3070. Maybe only, well, it's about 15% faster, I think, than a 3070. So, and the 3070s at the moment are like 250, 240, 250. So that's a really good price for a 3070 Ti. And you know, it's a decent little card. That would definitely get you gaming. But talking about getting you gaming, there's some bargains inside. We're only at the window at the minute. So looking at the rest of the window, we've got a ThinkPad there. It's always a gem to see. And obviously some consoles and that. So going in, as you can see here, lots of physical media cases, all lined up. There's a few aisles of it. As you walk in, you're literally bombarded with physical media from the gaming side. Then obviously you got all the cabinets. Like I said, this is a really small, narrow store, so they've made full use of the space here. But we're just gonna run through the sort of like stacks of games that are here. I'm not stopping to look through all the games. I wanted to try and give you a rough guesstimate on all of the sort of stuff that we've got in here. And if I'd have just started going through each game and stuff to show the sort of games that show up, I'd be here for forever, like so. And let's be honest, if you're anything like me, you're far more interested in what's in the cabinets. Anyway, we'll get to that. So, starting off with Switch 2 games, stack of them, all alphabetical order. Everything's in alphabetical order in the sections. Then you've got PlayStation 5. We'll run across the top now. PlayStation 4, good section for PS4, Xbox One, and we've got a Series X and 33 Xbox 360. So yeah, there's just stacks of games. There's plenty of physical media in the store. There are some that they keep separate rather than on this stack, but obviously we've got PlayStation 3 games on the other side. We've got Nintendo DS 3D games, a whole stack of them there. Shelves are pretty full. And then on the opposite side of that gondola, I worked in retail as well, I know it's called a gondola. Anyway, more Nintendo games. You got Wii, and then you got PSP on the end with some PS2 in the middle. It's just something you got to dig through. If you're a game hunter, this is the kind of places that you want to be in, where you can just dig through everything. But let's get to the good stuff. All of the tablets are literally just all on display, the first thing that you see. And then obviously you got the pens and some other attachments, I think like some audio attachments and stuff like that. And then over we've got a few headsets and some keyboards up there, some nice ones. And then you got mice dropping down. You got a bit of storage on display and some RAM, a couple of sticks of RAM. There's a kit of Lexar there for 300 quid. I'd have it if it wasn't 300 quid. Got CPUs and stuff, obviously. And then, just chucked in at the bottom, there's a couple of PC systems here that are on offer. Both are pretty good deals, but we'll just go through the sort of deals that are up. There's this first one, the small one here. And we have a HP GT12 with a 10700F, 16 gigs of DDR4, 512 gigabyte SSD and a 2 terabyte hard drive, twinned with a 2070 Super and Windows 11. This definitely would get you gaming. I was like, I think that is basically like base price for a brand new PS5 now. But that would get you gaming. You're getting roughly around about the same sort of performance as a PS5 with a 2070 Super, maybe a little bit faster, but that is going to be a solid little gaming system. And for 580 quid in this current market, that ain't bad. However, the other one's better. So you've got a tall one next to it here. This tall one next to it here. This one is a 12400F, so okay. Not as high up a CPU being only a 6-core instead of the 8-core, but it's a far newer CPU with a better platform. And at the end of the day, this has got everything that is modern right now in terms of memory support, storage support, GPU support, all of that. 12400 has got it, even on DDR4. You might not have DDR5, but everything else on the platform links up. It has a PCIe Gen 5 slot, which means that you are pretty much prepped and ready for anything that's coming forwards. And you've got 16 gigs of DDR4. The CPU's solid. You've got a 1 terabyte SSD, which is fundamentally better than a 512 with a 2 terabyte hard drive. You don't know how old that hard drive is. You don't know what it's gone through. I think I've got a pretty good idea of what it's gone through. It's had games sat on it whilst the SSD did all the work. And it's just been getting grabbed off. So it's been through some shit. And I think this is a better deal. It is a tenner cheaper for starters, but it's got a 4068 gig. Not the best GPU in the world. You are literally pretty much around about the performance of a PS5, a base PS5, but on PC. But it's a solid little platform that you could easily drop a better GPU into further down the line. And I can show you some tricks and ways around to use CEX to your advantage. But that is a really, really good rig for 570 quid. That is a really, really good rig. And that is plug and play. Do you know what I mean? That is plug and play. That you can plug that thing in and you're gaming. And like I said, yeah, a 4060 is not the best GPU in the world, but if you're on a 1080p monitor, you're gonna get frame gen and stuff. So you can even make it a little bit better. Plus it's gonna be able to handle DLSS far better than like that 2070 for Super, for example. I just think this is a real solid rig for 570 quid. Genuinely not bad. If you think some GPUs are far more expensive than that, that is literally like a mid-range current gen GPU price for the whole PC with a 5-year warranty. You see it up there? I know you see it up there. Fucking 5 years. That's why we love CEX. So, what else we got in the cabinet? The GPUs. I'll take a little bit of a better angle at this. Grab what we got here. What have we got? We got a 1660 Super and a 1050 Ti. 1660 Super is there at 80 quid. We've got a 1050 Ti MSI model. It's a classic shroud that. For 48 quid. Is a 1050 Ti a good card? No. But it's 40 quid, isn't it? Well, it's 48 quid. It's quite a clean one. What else we got? We're going to be able to grab them. What are these two? Oh, we've got a 970. This is a 970 for 38 quid. We've got a 1066 gig for 62 quid right there. And a 584 gig for 45 quid. What's on the end? Oh, ooh, hang on. Got a 5070. Sorry. Got a 5070 right there for 535 quid. With a 5-year warranty. I mean, it is, I think that's Palette's base model because it's very similar to the Gamewood. So I think that's their base, that you know, in correspondence with the Phoenix, that's their Phoenix, if you get me. But 535 quid, that's not bad, that. I didn't grab what that was before it for 62 quid though. Oh, it's a 570. So basically it's a 580. That's an 8 gig 580. Get that. If you were gonna get one, get that, not the one in front of it, because it's 8 gig 580 basically. It says 570, but they're the same card, essentially. What have we got down here? Oh, 1080 Ti. That's fucking 165 quid for a legend, and a hell of a legend of one as well, like the old Aorus. That's a good. It's a legend. Look. It's getting a little old in the tooth now, a little long in the tooth, but at the end of the day, it's an 11 gigabyte card that is going to be fine at 1080p for most people, and it's only 165 quid for most. You know, like you're never going to have a problem with stuff like Fortnite and stuff like that on this GPU. Do you know what I mean? It's going to absolutely blitz it, and it still can give you a gameable experience in a lot of modern games. It's a freaking legend. But 165 quid, you can't complain at that, can you? We'll try and grab what's hiding in the back. I know you guys are interested. This is a 750 Ti for 25 quid, 660 maybe for 15 quid. We're gonna be here for frickin' ever if I don't just let it roll through a bit. Then obviously you got your MacBooks and your laptops. They're just lined up spec after spec, and then you're up onto your VR headsets. Like, I got my son's from here, but it was practically new. Got some sim rig stuff and some chargers and stuff up there, and obviously you got your Steam decks and that, like. And then over onto the consoles, got some Vitas, PSPs. You got some Nintendo stuff down here, some old Nintendo stuff down here. And then you got some sim rig stuff just tucked in at the bottom there, and then obviously the consoles. You got the older consoles there with the controllers and that, and then you got the next cabinet along is basically the new consoles. So you got Xbox underneath, and then like a row of PlayStations. And to be fair, you can grab a PlayStation for 410 quid with a 5-year warranty. Just saying, they do exist. Like, it is still an option. And then over into the next cabinet, we've obviously got audio stuff, headphones and stuff, and then like all of it's just sort of random stuff like and the cameras and that. And then literally the next two cabinets are just phones. Just phones. It's like all the Apple stuff, and then all of the Android stuff. And there's just more Android stuff, so it spills over. And then the last bit of the shop is obviously Blu-rays and DVDs galore, and then obviously you've just got the counter where everyone grabs everything. Obviously all the CDs from the cases are behind them and that. And then we're gonna head back out, and what we'll do is we'll come back here. Not like I'm already here, but we'll come back here and yeah, we'll head back. And we'll talk about online then, because between the two, they just work so well. So anything that you buy online, I can return to this store here. Like anything that I buy online can be returned to this store. I can also order stuff online to pick up at this store, depending on the item. If the item's already at this store, that's not a problem. If the item is transportable, what they deem transportable, then that's not a problem. But there are certain caveats to stuff that you just have to get at the store that it's at. A lot of custom systems, if they've got a glass panel on the side or they're of a certain weight, quite often, but mostly if they look like they could break, they don't ship them. So you have to go pick them up from the store. Monitors, that's something that they don't move about at all. They don't even move them about between stores, so I'm guessing they've had some problems with them in the past. But yeah, their monitors, they don't do that. But other than that, like, for the most part, most things will be delivered, or you can go collect in store, like I said. You can choose that as an option. But delivery, even online, when you order something, you order it to be delivered, even that's cheap. Like, it's like, whatever you've ordered, it's like that plus like £3. So like maybe $4, but it's like a flat rate. Like you pay that. I've ordered a few things off them and I've never had to pay delivery for more than one thing. If there's a whole order, I can't remember, but it's really pretty decent. And the stuff comes, and like there is little tricks. Like there's a grading system in there, A, B, C. C is working, so it can have cosmetic damages and stuff. But like stuff like, for example, a camera. I've bought a camera from in here, and it was a C grade, and I gave it a wash and cleaned and looked after it a bit. And when I took it back, it was a B. So I think sometimes they just grab the C so if it's like grubby or something, they don't want to have to clean it down to see if it's decent underneath at that point in time of sale, so they just C class it. They're supposed to clean it afterwards, but if you've seen the people that work there, they're all nice people, but you know, you walk in there and the place smells of odor armpit with a slight side of unwashed, you know. But it's CEX. What gaming store does not have that effect, you know? Anyways, should we have a look what's online? Hop back to the house. Right, okay guys. Yeah, so having a look at CEX here. We are here on CEX Online. The thing that people don't always get their head around of CEX is not everything's got a picture, and you need to pay attention to the stuff that doesn't have a picture, because they don't take a photo of everything. Like for photography stuff, I use a different site called MPB. That site there literally takes photos of, when I'm buying stuff for like, you know, like camera stuff and stuff online, I like to use that site because every camera that they sell, each individual camera, they take 3 photos of that unit. Same with lenses and stuff like that. So you know that the photos that you're looking at on that site are literally the item that you're buying. Whereas on CEX, if it's got a photo, it's a generic photo. You know, it's not a photo that they've taken of the item, it's a photo they've grabbed off the internet of the item. Some of it might be some photos that they've taken, you know, like in the past or whatever, but they just look like chopped out photos of stuff online, you know. But with CEX, everything's got a 5-year warranty, and they've got such an eclectic thing with their parts, like what they sell. They sell almost anything. The only thing that you don't, in terms of PC, the only thing that you don't get from CEX on motherboards outside of builds and power supplies. Those 2 things don't come from there. Or anything like a CPU cooler or anything like that. Like they don't sell those stuff. It's more the sort of like key hardware items or like console items, games, stuff like that. But for example, I like when it comes to CPUs, you could, you know, say 9800X3D, and yeah, they sell them. They have them in stock for 350 quid. So if you're looking for a 9800X3D and you can't find one under 400 quid and you're in the UK, this one comes with a 5-year warranty. So you could, and I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. Yeah, when it comes to CPUs, right? If they're not dead within their first like year of operation, they're kind of not going to. They're usually pretty tough, to be fair to them. Like, for me, they're worth a grab. Like, I'm saying this now, yeah. I don't think that the 70 quid difference for a 9850 X3D over a 9800 X3D is worth it. Get this one. And if you're into, like, you know, if you're doing some like work that's not gaming, get this one. If you're gaming, get this one. I would rather have the 8-core that's actually going to use 8 cores to game with, rather than the 12-core that's only going to use 6 cores to game with, because it locks the other ones out. That's why the next generation of AMD is so exciting because they're saying they're going to use 12 cores on their CCDs, 12 cores instead of 6s and 8s, which is, that's cool. That means that whether you've got, you know, the full 12-core CPU, which will be the next 800, whether you've got that or you've got one of the big boys, the 99s and the 9950s, whichever one you've got, it's going to use 12 cores for the game, which is pretty cool. Because there are some games that just genuinely use that coreage, and I feel like 12 cores with the 3D V-Cache on top. Intel have got their work cut out for them, haven't they? Jesus. But yeah, anyways, they have a range of everything. But CPUs and GPUs. GPUs, I find, are reasonable. Like, so if you when you're searching on here, because it can be a bit weird with your searching, the best thing to do is, like, if you're looking for a GPU, type GPU up in the top bar here, and then if you look here, this by category, there's PCI Express GPU cards. You do that, and then you sort low to high, and obviously it will literally give you low to high. And pretty much everything in the GPUs are deliverable. They'll ship pretty much everything. So you got a Titan Pascal for 150, 3050 8 gig for 150. That's kind of what you're looking at. 5700 XT 8 gig. At the end of the day, I would struggle to recommend a 3050 8 gig over a 5700 XT. But also at the exact same time, I would struggle to recommend a 5700 XT over the 3050. That is a horrible decision to have to make, like, because obviously I'm not thick. I am more than aware that that 5700 XT is a good 35 to 40% faster than that 3050 8 gig. However, that 3050 8 gig will let you boot games that 5700 XT can't even dream of. So it's like, what do you go for? Do you go for sheer horsepower, or do you go for the sort of longevity of the platform being more modern? You know, you've got the 3050 there, can use DLSS, can even use the new models. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but for a 3050, 8 gigs is plenty. So, like, the thing is that card's somewhat balanced in that way. Like, 8 gigabytes is plenty for a 3050. For what a 3050 can do, 8 gigabytes is plenty. So, like, that's not a terrible card on a super budget. But, like, if you're playing stuff like Fortnite, or, like, you know, like, if you're playing like esports games and stuff, like, do you really need the modern twist, or would you go with the raw horsepower of that Radeon? Because, like, you know, that 5700 XT, it performs a few percent slower than a 3060, and a 3060 it's a good chunk faster than the 3050. Let's just put it that way. I think it's a good, like, 50% faster than the 3050. So that 5700 XT is up there. But as I said, the problem is its longevity. Like, it's already off the main drivers. It can't do anything that's got any sort of ray tracing baked into it. It's not the best option, especially at 155 quid, because this stops being an argument, because the 2070 is now in the argument, because it's only a £5 or more, and there is no way in hell I would ever recommend anyone spend £10 less to get a 3050 over a 2070, because the 2070 is faster than the 5700 XT. Well, they're roughly about the same. A 2070 Super is definitely faster. But then obviously, as you come down the stack, you've got more cards and options. 165 quid, you get 1080 Ti. Don't look at that picture. Like I said, they just pick one. They'll have all the 1080 Ti's lumbered together unless it's got like an AIO or something. With the generations of GPUs, they reach a point where all of them are just in one. Like, so the 2078 gig, that is a 2078 gig, but nothing's saying that you're going to get the Foundation's 2070 there, or the Foundation 2060 Super down there. Nothing is guaranteed that you're going to get that one, because pretty much I think all of the 20 series, 10 series and beyond, they're all bundled into each card now. Whereas the 3050, you can still get an MSI 3050, that MSI 3050, that Asus 3050. So in the 30 series, they're all still split into their manufacturers, but the 20 series and before, they're all bundled into cards now. So nothing is guaranteed to which version of the card you're going to get, unless it specifically states it on the card, on the sale. There it is, the first 3070. Like, this card, just for 235 quid, it's kind of hard to beat. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to beat. Think about it, yeah, that is cheaper than what AMD plan to sell, are selling the 9058 8 gig at. That's lower than a 9058 gig MSRP for a 3070. Like, this is why I love CEX. But I do have a couple of, before we go, I just have a couple of bargains. So if you're in the UK, a couple of PCs, you know, full systems for you to have a look at. A couple of bargains, like what I would consider a good sort of like range hitter for systems on a couple of different budgets, and also stuff that I just literally consider a good deal. With the PCs, there are some systems, mostly OEM stuff, that you can have delivered. But if it's like a custom rig that someone's built and then took in and sold it, you can't have that delivered. You have to go pick that up. But it will tell you what store it's in. So if it's in a store near you, then you can go grab it. But other than that, it's purely down to whether they'll deliver it or not. Like most older Alienware systems, you know, like your R13s and previous, most of them will be delivered because everything's so heavily locked down in those systems that you're barely going to break anything by moving it, which makes them a little bit of a gold mine because it means it can be delivered. Anyways, I'll just run through a couple of systems that I found on there that were really good price and actually you could have delivered, and give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of systems on the online systems that you could get delivered. So first up, I don't have any pictures, so a lot of these things don't have photos, you just get this thing that you can wiggle about. But if you were working to a real super tight budget, you haven't got more than 400 quid to put on a PC, and your kid just wants to play Fortnite and stuff like that, this will definitely get you started. You may need to step up that CPU, but at the end of the day, yeah, like if I put in right 12100F, if you took that CPU out of that socket, right, took it into CEX, there would be nothing wrong with them taking it. They'll just take it. And if you get it as a trade-in voucher for 43 quid, right, you can then come back to CEX, because the advantage with the trade-in vouchers is they're stackable. So like if you get like something with 12, you know, you get a few different vouchers on different days and stuff. You can literally buy something and stack them on top of each other and pay off an item with it. So they'll give you like 48 quid for that, yeah? So for 95 quid, you can put a 12400 in there. And if you're wondering, it's just a better version of the 12400F. They've obviously just got more of them and they're less popular because this is the one that everyone talks about when you're gaming. Whereas this is basically that, but with a GPU on it, with an iGPU on it. So for 95 quid. So what's that? For an extra 40 odd quid on top of that PC. So for an extra, well, basically for 400 quid, you buy this system, switch the CPU out for them. They're gonna have to be a bit selective with their storage at first, but that can be upgraded in the future. At the end of the day, they would end up with a 12400 with 16 gigs of DDR4, 500 gig SSD, and a 3058 gig, which is going to get them on a 1080p monitor some gaming done. And like at the end of the day, when you're shopping for a PC under 400 quid, you're making some sacrifices. You're more than happy to make some sacrifices because that's why you're at that price point. You know you have to. And I certainly think for 360 quid, I think this is genuinely a decent little system, especially if you remember 5 years of warranty. Another OEM build, but again, it's one of those things where it's such a good price for what you're actually getting. And yeah, okay, you've got to have it in an Acer Predator Orion case, P03 630. I'm sure one of you knows what that looks like. It's not amazing, but at the end of the day, yeah, 5 years warranty. It will be delivered to your house. It's got an 11700F, which is a real solid 8-core CPU with a PCIe Gen 4 support. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4, 512 SSD with a 1 terabyte hard drive, which means you can actually store more games on the system than that last one. It's just you do have to move stuff about. With a 3070, which is astronomically better than a 3058 gig. It says Windows 10, but it doesn't take much to switch that over. And it'll be a bit scuffed up because it's a C rated, but it's 480 quid. You get working hardware that comes with a 5-year warranty, and like it's an 11th gen CPU. This rig here is a 2021 build. 2022 PC, but the specs are where it's at, and it's a solid system, and it's definitely you're gonna have some fun gaming on this for 480 quid, and it's deliverable. So remember, all of the options that I'm showing you at the minute are, you can have them delivered to your house. So another one, 540 quid. It's not an amazing system. No one likes an Acer Nitro, but at the end of the day, it can be delivered to your house, and it's got a 12400F in it. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4. It's not got the best SSD and hard drive setup, but it's got a 3060 12 gig in it, and it's 540 quid. It's definitely not as good as the last deal, but if the last deal's not about, this is there, and you are going to get gaming on it. And with a 12 gigabyte GPU at 1080p, you're going to be fine for most gaming, to be honest. It's only the new stuff that may struggle a little, but they're not going to struggle on VRAM. It's just going to be the GPU, and things are getting a bit more optimized. So, and it will literally play modern games. You've just got to know that it's going to be a little hit by FPS a bit these days. So you might be looking in the high 50s at native, 40s to 50s at native instead of above 60 like you would have been getting a few years back. But all in all, with the specs that are in there, it's pretty decent. And I'll be honest with you, these are worth way more money than they should be right now. So it might be worth, like, you know, doing the swippy swappy and get something a bit better. But we're looking at systems that you will be able to just plug in and enjoy and have a gaming session on. But there's one that I'm saving until the very end. But stepping up from that 500 odd quid, we've got this, 735 quid. Is it the best deal in the world? No. We've literally seen in my local store a better deal than this, but it's deliverable. and it does come with DDR5 in it instead of 4. It does come with a real solid CPU at the 14700F. It's got a 1TB SSD, and it's got a 4060 8 gig, and it's for roughly about the same price as a PS5 Pro. And are you going to be able to plug that in and do modern gaming? Yes. You're never going to have any problems plugging that in and doing any modern gaming. Moving on, it's a bit of an astronomical price, but for what you get in there, I didn't think it was that bad. 1,200 quid. Okay, it's an Alien Aurora R13, but what did I tell you about those things? They can be delivered. Why? Because everything's freaking locked down. And at the end of the day, yeah, for 1,200 quid, you're getting a 12900F, so that basically performs the same as a 7700X and a 5800X 3D in-game. You've got 32 gigs of DDR5 in there. Might not be the best 32 gigs of DDR5, but it's 32 gigs of DDR5. You've got two 1TB SSDs in there, so that's again more money in it. You've got a 2TB hard drive full of some long-term storage, and you've got a 3080 Ti, which is essentially a 12GB 3090. There is literally a handful of cores between the 3080 Ti and the 3090, and it performs, in raw performance, it performs on par with the 5070. So you are going to be able to do some modern gaming at 1440p with this, medium to high, easily, and you're gonna have a good time. Like, you don't have frame gen, but in all honesty, out of all of us, do we really use it that often? Like, I've got it, I got a 5070 GTI, but at the end of the day, yeah, I don't use it that often. I do use it occasionally, but no more than anything a 4000 series would give me. So anyway, we have one more system. There's one more system, and this is gonna just be down to whoever's in the UK watching this video to who gets lucky. Because to me, this next system is a little hidden gem. And the reason it's a hidden gem is because of the manufacturer. But the price on it, I think, is just totally worth it. So we have another Alienware Aurora R13, and it is a 12700KF with 32 gigs of DDR5, a 1TB SSD, and a 3070 with Windows 11 for 720 quid with a 5-year warranty, guys. I think at the minute, this is genuinely the buy on the site. I think that is an absolute steal of a deal. If you think that is cheaper than a PS5 Pro, a new one anyway, and the price is roughly about, the performance is about the same with a far superior CPU. You've got 35 gigs of DDR5 in there and a 1TB SSD. Like, the base components that are in that rig are totally worth it. Like, totally worth it. And at the minute, you know, like, if you do your exchange rates and stuff, you know, exchanging in CEX, and you use the vouchers because you know you're buying something from CEX, you get a better price back, and it's nice. You can do some haggling at times where your GPU, like that last rig that had a 3060 12 gig in it, you have some times where your GPU is a little bit stronger than the price of it is a little bit stronger than actually what it's worth. So you can get a better exchange on it, which will give you more money to put to another GPU, which makes that GPU cheaper, and it's just one, you know, it's a constant rollover. But for 720 quid, if you were looking for a PC to just get your lad or get your kid or whatever, and they wanted to be able to do some modern gaming and stuff, like this rig here, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but you put this rig with a 1080p monitor, and there's not going to be a game come out that this rig isn't going to be able to handle well, and give you good frame rates and good performance, and the 8GB is not going to really be too much of a problem to you at 1080p, and the CPU's there. Basically, your rig is there ready. Like, you could take that 3070 out and put a faster GPU in there, and your rig has just gone from being mid-range to high end because the CPU is still that strong. So for me, I think that this is the bargain. I think there's only one of them, but yeah, this is the bargain of the day. So if you're in the UK and you're looking for a rig to just buy and game on for a bit, and you're looking for something that's genuinely not ripping you off. If you think that CPU is what? In CEX, they'll sell it for 170 quid. That RAM in CEX, you're looking at like 300 quid. So you're already almost at 500 quid before you've even added the 1TB SSD and a 3070. And it's gonna come with a decent enough power supply. Dell's like power supplies that they put in the units are pretty solid, and a rig like this is definitely going to have a big one because it's got to handle all of this. You get Windows 11 with it, so like, and a 5-year warranty for 720 quid. So for me, this is the bargain, mainly because it's deliverable, because like I said, a lot of the custom systems are not on CEX. But this is why, to all the American viewers, this is why CEX gets mentioned so much by British people. It's because 5-year warranty, reduced hardware, a warranty on used goods that's better than some warranties on new stuff is in itself an absolute steal. So that's why we use it. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've had liked a nice little look around CEX and stuff. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching, and love you back.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.